Hey everybody, how's it going? I am your host Adrian, coming to you almost live from lovely Petaluma, California, here in Studio MC2 at Quicksurf Internet Studios. The Geekinator is a proud member of the Tech Podcast Network. If it's tech, it's here. Do feel free to head on over to techpodcast.com and check out all the other technology-related shows over there as well. I'd like to encourage everybody to visit us online over at quicksurf.com. Please do subscribe to the show if you have not already done so. If you are watching on YouTube, there's a subscribe link up above this video. If you want to subscribe to the show using your podcatcher of choice, be it iTunes or the podcast application on an iOS device or something of that nature, do visit us online. And in the show notes for every episode, I have under the subscribe heading links that allow you to subscribe to an OGG Vorbis version of the show or an MP3 version of the show, or the standard definition H.264 version of the show and an HD H.264 version of the show. You can subscribe to those using your podcatcher of choice, be it on a personal computer or on a mobile device like an iPad or an Android tablet, BlackBerry, that sort of thing. So please do subscribe to the show and help us support the show while you're at it. And that'll help me get sponsors for the show so that I can keep doing this. And if you're watching on YouTube, please do like the video. And with that, let's go ahead and get into some of the stuff that I found for this episode. The first thing I want to talk about is kind of news related. I found it over at Mashable. The Cyber Intelligence Sharing and Information Act, otherwise known as CISPA, it's going to be reintroduced into the House of Representatives on Wednesday. CISPA is, for those of you who don't know, it's a controversial cybersecurity bill. It first passed the Republican-controlled House on a vote of 248 to 168 last April, despite President Obama threatening to veto it. It was not picked up by the Democratic-controlled Senate, which was working on competing cybersecurity bills of its own, which also did not come to a vote. So, we're getting part two. CISPA's authors have been working with the White House to mitigate the administration's concerns over privacy. If CISPA passes, it's going to allow private companies, intelligence agencies, and the Department of Homeland Security to share information about cyber threats with one another. So pretty interesting. I'll be following this to see what comes of it. Potentially scary, but I think that, the intent is of longer term good. From Wired Science, I saw this article. There are favorite images from Landsat's amazing 40-year record of Earth from space. There are some real gems here. Do go and check this out. I will definitely be sucking down a whole pile of these just so that I can use them for desktop backgrounds. Very striking images. Definitely worth looking into. For Mashable, Lego, that's right, Lego is unveiling geeky new sets for Star Wars and Lone Ranger fans. They've got a gallery here of some pretty awesome things. If you're a Lego fan, this is definitely something to look into, particularly if you're into Star Wars or the Lone Ranger. Also from Wired Science, there's a nice little video clip here. Stand on Mars next to the Curiosity rover with this incredible panorama. It's a panoramic shot around the rover. Pretty neat. Definitely something to look into. I've been following the Curiosity rover for quite some time now, so pretty neat. For those of you who have iPhone 4S and have upgraded to iOS 6.1, there's a 6.1.1 fix to fix the iPhone 4S issues. I have an iPhone 4S right here. I have upgraded it to 6.1.1 this evening. I do have kind of a gripe. So I went to do the upgrade. I was at work when it popped up and said, "Hey, you have an upgrade." I was like, "Sweet, let's go upgrade it." The first thing it did was it popped up and said, hey, you can't upgrade me unless you're on Wi-Fi. Okay, fine. So why are you notifying me? So wait till I get home this evening. Boop, jump on the Wi-Fi. Sweet. Go to upgrade. Pulls down the upgrade and then goes, hey, you can't install this unless you're at least 50% battery or plugged in. I'm like, you know what? How about you just install it? I'm going to be watching it as it goes. If my battery drops precariously, I'm going to go run off somewhere and plug it in. But in the meantime, I probably have enough juice to get this installed. So please just install it already. So I was like, you know what? So I was eating dinner and I was like, you know what? Fine. Forget it. Waited until after dinner, came up here to do the show, plugged the phone in, and then started the upgrade. So, it finished. Everything's hunky-dory. Really annoying. It's like, look, don't ping me that I have an upgrade available. If you're not going to let me install it, I got to jump through all these hoops to get the stupid thing installed. Annoying. Anyway, if you have iOS 6.1 and an iPhone 4S, definitely get the latest version. But make sure that you're on Wi-Fi and plugged in first. From GigaOhm, following the Raspberry Pi, the $89 Odroid U2 continues small, cheap computing movement. That's right. So the Raspberry Pi is a pretty awesome platform. This is I guess you could call next generation platform. This here Odroid U2 is leaps and bounds more capable than the Raspberry Pi, which explains why it's a little more expensive. The Raspberry Pi tops out at $35. It's a quad-core 1.7 gigahertz Samsung chip. Wow. It's smaller than a credit card. It comes with a full 2 gigabytes of memory, 2 USB ports, integrated Ethernet, and a Mali 400 quad-core 440 megahertz graphics chip are all on board. Essentially, the Odroid U2 has the guts and computational capability of a high-end smartphone from about a year ago for $89. This thing is amazing. So, I will definitely be looking into this. Be interesting to see what you can do with this. I mean, that's a lot of processing power, so it'll be pretty cool. From Ars Technica, 7 vulnerabilities found through Mega Security Bounty Program. We previously talked about Mega launching. They have obviously since, come up with a reward program for finding security vulnerabilities with the service. There have been 7 vulnerabilities found. Not a lot of details about who found them or whether or not they got compensated, but still nonetheless, they're obviously taking security seriously if they're even announcing this sort of thing. So pretty interesting. Over at Make, on the Make blog, I saw this YouTube video posted there and thought I would share it here. It's called How Shift Registers Work. I'm not super familiar with shift registers, so I don't, this is definitely something that I found interesting. My line of work, I don't really do a lot of shift register type stuff. But for those of you who are budding electronics enthusiasts or hobbyists, or even you're learning electrical engineering, this is definitely something that you want to look into. From Hackaday, the Raspberry Pi is right at home inside of a Game Boy. That's right. Somebody took a Raspberry Pi and jammed it into the case of a Game Boy. Now, obviously, they had to modify the Game Boy case to make it fit, but still, this is pretty neat. Definitely check it out if you want to do the same thing with your Raspberry Pi. In the Make magazine, or over at Make again in their blog, there's another posting I found, and they do have a YouTube linked up, but it's basically an Arduino-based drum machine. I'm a huge fan of Arduino. I do a fair amount of Arduino development. I've got a nice little Uno, and I've got a couple of other Arduinos, ATmega 328Ps floating around for some various other projects. This is a nice little, not really a shield, but it's a nice little circuit board that you can drop an Arduino on, and it allows you to do drum machine stuff. Pretty neat. Check it out. Definitely something nice, easy experiment. From Mashable, there are 9 tips to stay safe on public Wi-Fi. I thought I would share this, seeing as public Wi-Fi is pretty common. A lot of people don't really know how to stay safe on public Wi-Fi. So definitely something to look into if you spend a lot of time in airports or at Starbucks or, any number of places that provide free Wi-Fi. The last thing I want to talk about is over at Engadget. There's a Tesla Model S review put up by Tim Stevens. Pretty neat. He basically does a nice little rundown. There's some video. Definitely check it out. Particularly, the Model S is a pretty sweet car. It's one of the first all-electric luxury sedans, if you will. So definitely something to look into. That will do it for this episode of The Geekinator. As always, everything we've talked about is linked up in the show notes. Just find those online over at quicksurf.com. And please do subscribe to the show if you have not already done so. And with that, I will see all of you on the next episode. I'll see you then. Bye.